Hey guys, Joy here. Today we're gonna build a complete responsive navigation menu just using HTML, CSS and a little bit of JavaScript. So let's go and check out our project then. Alright then, this is the desktop version over here. This is our logo and this will be our text over here. And these are the navigation menu items. So when we hover over the items, it turns white like this. Alright, so the active menu will have a white colored underline like this. Okay, so when you click on any item, it turns like this. Okay, you're gonna see an underline, white colored underline like this. Alright then, this is the desktop version and you can see the logo is on the left side. So when we resize the window, the logo will go to the center. Okay, and we're gonna have a hamburger menu icon over here. Okay, so when we click on it, you can see that we have all the navigation menu items over here. And then we also have a small cross sign. Okay, so when you click on the cross sign, you can see that it's moving to the right side again. It's hiding itself. So we're gonna build this right now. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe because I post videos based on practical web dev projects so that you can level up your coding skills. If that sounds interesting, then hit the subscribe button and join my gang. And without further ado, let's get started. Alright boys, before coding we need to set up our environment. Okay, currently I'm running this project on codepen.io. The link of this project will be given in the description down below so that you can go and check it out. Okay, so on codepen.io you drag this CSS panel and click this little gear icon over here, and then you select SAS as the preprocessor, save and close. Okay, next process is you hit star curly braces and you set the margin and padding to be 0 pixels each. So M0px, you hit tab, it's gonna automatically write as the code. Same process, P0px, you hit tab, it's gonna give us this. Alright, and then we're gonna set the box sizing to be border box. Okay, like this, box sizing. If you hit BO, and then if you hit tab, we're gonna get this. Okay, then you write body. Set the font family to be sans serif. In order to do it in a shortcut way, you write FF tab. Okay, and over here you write SS like this, and then you hit tab. Alright, we're gonna set the width to be 100% like this. Sorry. And the minimum height will be 100 VH. And then we're gonna set the font size to be 25 pixels. Next up, we're going to create conditional media query makes sense in order to save our time. Okay, so come at the very bottom. Over here, we're going to create a small map variable to hold all our breakpoints. Like this, follow me. You hit $, then BP, which is breakpoints. BP means breakpoints. Okay, and then you hit colon and then braces. And over here, you're going to write mobile. Okay, and over here, write 480 pixels. Then over here write tablet, okay, 768 pixels like that. Okay, don't use semicolons, use a comma, otherwise it's not gonna work. Okay, you use semicolons over here but not here. We need a comma. I wrote the tablet wrong, my apologies. TABLET, tablet. Okay, now the desktop version is optional, but for this tutorial I'm including this over here. So write desktop, okay, 1440 pixels. This is completely optional. It's up to you. You can keep it or you can delete it. Okay. And then over here, you're going to write @mixin. Okay. Then we're going to set the name of this mixin to be query like this, QUERY. And over here, we're going to write $SCREEN, screen. Okay. And then curly braces. And over here, we're going to use a small each loop. Write @each and then $key. And don't worry, if you don't understand it, I'm going to show you what I'm trying to do over here. You write $value in $BP and then you hit curly braces. Okay, like that. And let me explain what I'm trying to do. These values, mobile, tablet and desktop, are the keys, KEYS. And these values over here are the values. So this $key represents these three words over here, and the $value represents these numbers over here, and $in $BP is the original map variable over here. Okay, so we are looping inside that map variable. And over here write @if, and then brackets you write $screen, which is this one over here, okay? And then you're gonna give equal to $key, which represents this one over here, okay? And then you hit curly braces over here, and then write @media braces, and then write max width. And over here you're gonna give $value. This value over here is this one, which represents this one over here. And at the same time, this $key represents this one, which also represents these values over here, okay? And then over here you write @content. Okay, so how this works is every time when we need a small media query, we're gonna write like this, @include, then the name of our mixin, which is query, like this, okay, QUERY. And then inside the braces we're gonna write either mobile, tablet or desktop. So these three are our options. These three keys are our options, okay? If you want for the tablet version, you're gonna write tablet like this, but if you want for the mobile version, you're gonna write mobile like this. And then inside the curly braces, you're gonna define your styles over here. This works like that. Then we're gonna minimize the code like this. You hit this small minus icon over here and it gets minimized, okay? Like that. So we're done with our setup. Let's start coding, okay? So come over to the HTML. For this tutorial, I'm gonna use the BEM naming system. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna show you in small details what actually BEM means. There are a lot of naming systems, okay? BEM, SMAX, etc. But if you want me to make a detailed video about BEM, SMAX or any other naming system, let me know in the comments down below, okay? First of all, we're gonna create a div with a class name container, which will be our parent, okay? .container. Then you hit tab like this, okay? So this will be our parent, okay? So back to our original project. Over here we will have two blocks. The first one will be the header block and the next one will be this body over here. So this is block 1, this is block 2, okay? So back to our project, we're going to define that by writing .header, header. You hit tab, okay? This is the first block and the next block is main, okay? You write .main, main like this, and then you hit tab. Now back to our BEM. What it actually means is that B, E and M, okay? So the B means the block, E means the element, okay? And M means the modifier. Okay, so we have defined the parent. This is the container over here, okay? The container. And the block is the header and the main. If you have a footer, you can also define it over here by writing .footer tab. Like this, you have the footer. So we have three blocks: header, main and footer, okay? But for this tutorial we don't need this footer over here. You can remove it, okay? And let me explain the element over here. The elements, back to our original project, this logo you can see over here is our element. So this is element number 1. These items over here are element number 2, and we have the icons, right? These icons are our element number 3, okay? So let's come back to our project, and inside over here we're gonna define those elements, okay? First is logo, the next one is buttons, which is the icons, okay? And the next one is our navigation menu items. So we have 3 elements. First of all, write .header, okay? In order to define an element, you hit 2 underscore like this, 1, 2 like this, but we need 3 elements, okay? So you hit star and then 3, then you hit tab. It automatically creates us 3 elements like this, okay? The first element is to be logo. You write LOGO. The next one is buttons. You write BTN, which means button. And then the last one is navigation menu items. So you write just menu, okay? Like that. And separate them. like this, and it's a good practice to write comments. Okay, so inside the comment over here I'm gonna write logo here, and I'm gonna write over here. You can see that I'm very quickly writing comments. That's because in your keyboard you're gonna find this sign. Okay, let me show you. If you can see, this is the shift key over here, this is the shift key over here, and this is the button. Okay, by this I'm creating that. Okay, so if you hit Control and that button together, then it's gonna automatically create us a comment. So inside over here we're gonna write button management. Okay, which means that we're managing all our buttons inside this element over here. Okay, and over here we're gonna manage all our navigation menu items. Okay, so you write menu items here like that. Okay, and now for the buttons I'm gonna use box icons. So this is the website boxicons.com. Okay, so you come over to the usage over here, and then over here you click import the CSS. Okay, and then you copy the code like this, Control C, and back to our project. If you are not using codepen.io, what you can do is you have the head tag, right? Head. Inside the head tag you paste the code. But if you are following me and if you're using codepen.io, you click this small gear icon over here and you paste the code over here. You can see that this is the stuff for the head. Okay, then you paste it over here like this, and then you hit save and close. So we are done. Okay, so back to the actual website, come to the very top and click this box icons logo, and over here we're gonna need two icons. The first one is the Hamburger Menu icon and the next one is the cross sign. So if we hit X, it's gonna generate that logo for us. Okay, so you can see that we have it over here. If you click it, you can see this box over here, and then you have to select this font over here, and then if you click it, it's gonna automatically get copied on your clipboard. Okay, so back to our project over here, and now it's time to define the modifier. Okay, so inside this block, okay, so come over here, and first of all we're gonna paste the code over here which we copied for the X icon. So Control V like that. Okay, and then back to the website again, you hit menu over here like this. Okay, scroll to the top, you can see that the Hamburger menu gets generated. Click this, copy this, back to the project, and over here paste it like this. Okay, so now time to explain the modifier. Okay, in order to do the modifier thing, you just copy this one. Okay, Control C and paste it over here, Control V like that, and Control V like that. Okay, in order to define a modifier, you need to specify a hyphen like this, and the menu will be our open. Okay, you write OPEN, and the X will be our close. Okay, so over here you write hyphen CLOSE like that, and we're done with our BEM naming system. Okay, back to the very bottom, you remove this, we don't need it. Okay, so you can see that this is the block. Okay, this is our element over here, and these are our modifiers. Okay, it's really easy. If you can get it, then it will be very easy for you. All right, now let's write over here logo like this, LOGO. Okay, now let's define our navigation menu items. Okay, so come at the very bottom over here, the header menu block, and over here we're gonna write dot item hyphen star 4. Then you hit tab like this, and on every hyphen you write 1 2 3 4 like this, and over here you write home, over here write about, then services, then contacts. So we are quite done with the HTML, but not 100%. That's because over here we're gonna use radio buttons. Okay, and over here we're gonna define ID selectors. Okay, that's for the JavaScript part. So come to the CSS part. Come at the very bottom and let's define our selectors. So write dot header curly braces, and then in order to select our logo, button and menu, write and then double underscore. Okay, let me pull the HTML over here. Okay, you can see that over here we have the logo, okay, and means the dot header which is extended over here. So and double underscore then logo, then you write curly braces like this, okay. So this one is actually equivalent to writing dot header, okay, logo like this. So this line of code is equivalent to writing this one over here, okay. So done, we're done with the logo. Next, define the buttons, right, and double underscore btn curly braces like that. And in order to define our menu items, and double underscore then write menu, okay. So we're done for the, this is for the desktop version, okay. So for the mobile version we're gonna need a media query, okay. So over here write @include query. This is for the mobile version, okay. So write mobile over here, then curly braces, and inside here we're gonna paste this code, okay, Control V like that. If you hit Control plus A and then Shift plus Tab, it's gonna automatically format our code like that, okay. Now it's time to style. Over here we can see that our menu items, our logo and our icons are actually behaving like a column. We want it to behave like a row and it should be separated. In order to define that, you come over to this block over here. In order to define that, come over here and you're gonna write dflex, which is display flex. If you hit tab, it's gonna create this. Now the default value of flex direction is row, okay. So define it anyways, flex direction row like that. All right, in order to separate them, you come over here and write justify content, okay. Then you write space. You can see that we have three options over here. On my blog I have created a small cheat sheet, so link will be in the description down below so that you can go and revise your Flexbox memory. Now back to our project, we're gonna use space between, okay, like this. And you can see that these are spaced at the very corners like this, okay. On the desktop version we don't need these icons over here, so in order to remove them, come over here, not here, okay. Over here you're gonna write display none, so d none, you hit tab and then it's gone like that. All right, next up you can see that these are behaving like a column, so we want it to behave like a row. In order to do that, come over here and write dflex. If you can remember, the default value of flex direction is row, okay. You hit tab and write it anyways, flex direction will be row. So we can see that it's behaving like this, okay. So this is actually what we want. And next up we want to define some spacing between these items over here, okay. In order to do that, we're not gonna directly write padding over here. We need to individually target them. So in order to do this automatically, you write square brackets, then you write class, then power sign equal to double quotes item hyphen like this, okay, and then curly braces. What I'm trying to do by this code is I'm trying to select all the navigation menu items with the class name dot item hyphen, okay. So over here we're gonna write padding. We just need padding on the left side of each item, okay. So you write padding then hyphen left, okay, then write 15 pixels each. It's up to you how much amount you want for the padding, okay. So for this tutorial I'm gonna set it to 15 pixels, okay. So you can see that we have seen the result. And then in order to better understand what I'm trying to do, I'm gonna select a color, background color, okay. So come over to the header over here and you write BGC tab, and over here write sky blue. So we can see that, and then you set a height of 10 VH. Now you can see that our items are at the very top, but we want it to be at the center. In order to do that, come over here and write align items, and you write center like that, and you can see that it has come at the very center, okay. Then let's define some padding, okay. We want padding to be at the left and on the right. We don't need padding for the top and bottom, okay. So come over to this dot header, and then over here you write padding. Okay, so if you want for the left and right, you need to set the top and bottom to be 0. Okay, so in order to do that, you write 0 over here and then define 10 pixels of padding at the left and right. So this defines top, bottom, and this one over here defines left and right. Alright, so you can see the result over here. So we are quite done with our desktop version. Now let's style our mobile version. So you can see for the desktop version, it's working quite good. Okay, now it's time to style for the mobile version. Alright then, in order to style for the mobile version, first of all, we need to see what we want. We want the icons to return. At the same time, we want our navigation menu items to behave like a row instead of a column. So in order to do that, first and foremost, let's bring back our icons. Okay, so in order to bring back our icons, come over here and inside over here you write dflex like that, tap, and if you resize the window you can see the icons like that. And then we want the navigation menu items to behave like a row instead of a column. Okay, in order to do that, you come over here and you write flex direction column like that. You can see that. Okay, and then we're gonna set it to position absolute so that we can move it from left to right. Okay, in order to do that, you write POS ABS, you hit tab. Okay, which means position absolute shortcut. Okay, and then it has come at the very left, but we want it to be at the very right. Okay, in order to do that, over here you write R0 pixels, R0px, you hit tab. Okay, which is right 0 pixels, and it's gonna move to the very right like this. And you can see that we don't see the home option. Okay, in order to bring back that, you write top 0 pixels like this, and it's back. And then we're gonna define a background color for it so that we can better see what we are trying to do. Okay, you hit BGC, then you write C1 C1 C1. Okay, so you can see that. And if you can recall, the header is 10 VH. So in order to actually position it properly, instead of giving here 0 pixels top, you're gonna give here 10 VH. Okay, and then it's gonna beautifully line itself like this. Okay, and then we want it to spread across the width and across the remaining height. In order to do that, you write W 100%. You hit tab like this, and then for the height, we're gonna set it to 90 VH. Why 90? That's because we have defined 10 VH for the header. Okay, and then we want it to be at the very center and spread across. In order to take these items at the very center, come over here and write align items, align items, you write center like that. And in order to spread across them, over here we're gonna write justify content and then space evenly, and you can see that like that. Alright, next up we want it to hide on the very right. In order to do that, we need to create 2 extra classes. So come at the very bottom over here and you define 2 extra classes. Okay, first one we will write dot hide. Okay, it's gonna be d non tab, display non, and then the next one will be slide dot slide like that. And you're gonna write over here right minus 100%. Let me show you. Right colon minus 100% like that. Okay, so how these 2 classes will work is that we're gonna toggle between them in the JavaScript. Okay, don't worry about it, I'll show you how you can do it. But for now, you include the slide in the HTML. So come over to the HTML and over here you write slide, slide, on the menu items. Okay, you can see that it's gone, but you can see a small scroll bar over here. Okay, if you don't remove the scroll bar thing, then your clients can easily see through the menu items. Okay, so this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. Okay, so there is a property named overflow x. So over to the CSS, and at the very top, okay, you expand this, you write overflow x. That's because it's for the x-axis, not for the y-axis, okay. So overflow, you hit x like this, and then you write hidden, okay. See the scroll bar, it's gone, okay. Now it's completely hidden on the right side, okay. So you minimize this. All right, boys, time to start the JavaScript part, okay. So before doing that, come back to the HTML. We have some job left, okay. So come over here, write id equal to double quotes, and write over here open, okay. So and over here you write id equal to double quotes, and then you write close like this, okay. And over here you're gonna write id equal to double quotes menu. Now let's come back to the JavaScript, okay. Over the JavaScript, in order to select those id on the HTML, you're gonna write let, okay. So first one was open, so you write open equal to document dot. So over here we have a lot of options. We have get elements by id, by class name, by tag, query selectors, etc. But for this tutorial I'm just gonna use get elements by id. If you want me to make a detailed video about it, then let me know in the comments down below, okay. So you're gonna select this one, get elements by id, okay. Then you hit brackets, and over here you write open, and it's gonna automatically select that, okay. Now instead of using a semicolon over here, it's optional, it's up to you, okay. You hit comma. By that, what happens is that you don't have to write let again, okay. It's equivalent to writing let Anna, John, Smith, etc. So you hit close equal to, you copy this line of code, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and over here you write close. Now let me show you the cool part, okay. Instead of using the comma, if you use a semicolon like this, what you had to do is you have to write let again, okay, let again. But if you use the comma, you don't have to write this let over here again, so which is time saving, okay. So we're gonna use a comma. Then you need to define the menu equal to the same thing, Ctrl V, and over here you write menu, and at the very last you have to give a semicolon to stop the statement like that, okay. The next thing what we need to do is we have to hide the X, okay. So in order to do that, come back to our CSS, okay, and then come to the mobile version, okay. The mobile version, not the desktop version. In the mobile version over here, and on this button element, okay, you write pos apps, and then you hit tab, which is position absolute, okay. And then it is going to automatically come at the very right. We want it to be at the very left, okay. So for that you write right, okay. So don't write 0 pixels. That's because we have 10 pixels of padding, right, if you can recall. So you write 10px. It's gonna beautifully line that up like this, okay. But if you hit 0 pixels, see what happens. You can see that the gap over here and the gap over here is not equal. So write 10 pixels, okay. Alright, next up we need to hide the X. In order to hide the X, if you can recall, we created 2 extra classes at the very bottom, okay. So if you come over here, you can see that the hide and the slide, okay. So in order to hide the X, come over to the HTML, and over this modifier, okay, the X, you write over here hide, H-I-D-E, hide, and you can see that the X is gone, okay. So we are done over here, and come back to our JavaScript, okay. Now on the JavaScript, we're going to create 2 functions to toggle between the menu items back and forth, okay. So first of all, I'm going to show you the long way, and then I'm going to show you the shortcut way of creating functions in JavaScript. So first of all, you define the open over here, okay, open dot, and then you write add event listener, which is we're attaching a function, okay, add event, okay. Don't make a spelling mistake, otherwise it's not gonna work. So ADD, small letters, then E will be capital letter, just the E, EVENT, then capital letter L, listener, event listener, and then brackets. Over here write double quotes and then write click. It is a click function, okay? So what I'm trying to do is when I click on the hamburger menu icon, we want the function to start working, okay? And over here you give comma and then you give brackets again equal to this sign and then curly braces like this. This is a ES6 function, okay? And then inside over here we're gonna write open again. Then you hit dot class capital letter list dot toggle. So what I'm trying to do is when I click this, I want it to hide itself. At the same time, I want the X to return. Okay, if you can recall, I created two extra classes, hide, slide. So over here I'm gonna define hide, HIDE. Now let's see if it works or not. So over here if you click, you can see that the hamburger menu is gone, but we want the X to return. In order to bring back the X, over here you're gonna write close dot class list dot toggle, and over here write the same thing, hide, like this. Okay, now let's check. So when we click on it, the menu icon is gone, but the X has returned. Okay, but if you click it again, it's not gonna work. That's because we have defined the button function on the open ID, but not for the close ID, not for the X. So in order to do that, you copy this over here and you paste it over here, and over here you just change the name to close. Now it's gonna work. You can see that it's working perfectly fine. Okay, so let's actually change the font size of this one and let's bring the logo at the very center. Come back to the CSS and come to the mobile version. Okay, this one, come here, not at the top. This is for the mobile version, and over here you write justify content center, like that, and let's change the font size. So come over to the button over here and you write font size, let's say 40 pixels. All right, cool. So let's check our design. It's working quite good. Now let's change our cursor to pointer. In order to do that, come to the desktop version, okay, not the mobile version, the desktop version over here, and inside over here you write CURPOI, curpoi, and then you hit tab, so which means cursor pointer. Okay, now let's check it out. So if you come to the logo, you can see that our cursor is changing, okay, like this. So we want the same thing to happen for this one and for our menu items. Okay, in order to do that, come over here and inside over here, don't write it outside, don't write it over here, write it here. Okay, you write curpoi, the same thing, cursor pointer. Okay, and now it's gonna work. Let's see. Okay, it's working. Next up, we're gonna define it for the button. In order to do that, come to the mobile version, don't go to the desktop version. That's because it's hidden over here, you can see that. Okay, now if you define it there, it's not gonna work. So come to the mobile version and over here you write curpoi, which means cursor pointer, curpoi, you hit tab like this and it's gonna work. Let's see. Oh, we defined it on the wrong place, I'm sorry. You hit Ctrl X and you paste it over here, Ctrl V, like that, and now it's gonna work. Let's go and check it out. All right, it's working perfectly fine. And the next process is we want the slide to come inside and go outside at the same time when we click on the button. Okay, so come back over here. Also, I told you that I'm going to show you a shortcut way of defining the functions. Okay, so this is not feasible, this is not practical. That's because if you have 10 buttons, you have to copy the same thing 10 times, like this, Ctrl C and then Ctrl V like this, Ctrl V like this, and then you need to change the values. And now it's not cool to write like that. That's because it's a lot of code. So let me show you the shortcut way. Okay, you delete this, the extra ones over here, and I'm gonna comment this code over here. Okay, over here we're gonna define a variable. Let's name it common. Okay, COMMON. You hit equal to, then brackets, equal to, then this sign, curly braces. So this is the ES6 way of defining a function. Okay, so inside over here, first of all we need to define the open as X, then we're going to define the close as Y. So come over to the brackets over here and you write X, then comma Y, which means this X will be our open and the close will be our Y. Okay, over here you write X dot the add event listener. Okay, you copy this one from here, Control C, Control V, and then you close the curly braces and the bracket like this. Okay, and then inside over here you can see that the first line is open.classlist.toggle, then hide. Okay, just copy this from here, Control C and Control V over here. Then you change the open to X like this. Okay, and then if you see the second line, you copy this, Control C and Control V over here, and instead of the close you define it over here like Y. Okay, now let's test. First of all, we can see that it will not work. Okay, so come over here, you write common bracket, and over here first of all what we have the open and then we have the close. Okay, so come here and write open first, comma, and close. Now let's test. If you click here, it's gonna work, but if you click it again, it's not gonna work. You can see that it's not working. Okay, that's because we have to define it again. In order to do that, you copy this over here, Control C and then Control V, and change the value. You have to do it inverse way. Okay, so close will be first and open will be later on. Now if you hit Control S, which means save. Okay, now let's test. If you click on it, it's working perfectly fine. Okay, it's working absolutely fine. So you can see the difference between writing like this way and writing like this way. So now let's say we have 10 buttons. We just need to copy this small line over here and we're gonna paste it like this. Okay, and then we're gonna change the values over here. So this is the practical way of writing JavaScript. So this is the practical way of writing real life projects. Okay, now remove this extra code from here, we don't need it. All right, next up what we need is when we click on the button, we want the slider to come in. Okay, so first of all we have to define what we want. We want two functions. First is slide in and slide out. Okay, so in order to define that, come over here and you write comma Z. So this condition over here will determine whether to bring the slider in or take it outside. Alright, so if you're seeing a small error, that's because of this one over here. You have to write null. And now you're not gonna see that error. Okay, and now let's define an if statement. We write an if statement over here and then brackets and write Z equal to, okay, slide in like this, and over here curly braces, and over here we're gonna write menu dot class list dot toggle brackets, and over here we're gonna write slide, which is the extra class we created on our CSS. Okay, and then semicolon over here, and instead of the null you're gonna remove this and over here write double quotes and then you write slide in, which is this one over here. Okay, this one. And now let's test our code. So come over here and if you click on it, we can see that the slider is inside and it's very fast, but if you click it again, it's not gonna work. Okay, but if you click it again, it's gonna work. That's because we have to define the slide out as well. So come over here and write another if statement. Okay, if Z equal to, which is slide out like this. Okay, you copy this code over here, Control C like this, and you paste it over here like that. Okay, and instead of the null over here, we're gonna write slide out, which is this one over here. Okay, Control C, Control V, Control S, which means the save shortcut. Okay, when you click on it, you can see that it's coming in and it's going out, but it's really fast. It's happening really fast. Okay, in order to change the timing function, come over to the CSS and on the mobile version of this, which is this one, not the top one, this one. over here on the menu, over here you write transition all 1s is. 1s means 1 seconds. Okay, so now let's test. So you can see that it takes 1 second to come in and 1 second to go out. So for this tutorial, I'm gonna keep it to 0.4 seconds. You can change the value as you like. Okay, now let's test again. So you can see that it's working absolutely fine. Alright boys, we're 90% done. The next 10% is to define our menu items. So come over to the HTML and you can see that we have defined it home, about, services and contacts. But instead of using this plainly, we're gonna use radio buttons over here. Okay, so we're gonna delete this over here, and inside over here we're gonna write input, then colon, you write radio and you hit tab. So it is input type radio, then the name and the ID. Don't worry about this, I'm gonna show you what it actually means. Okay, and then you copy this code over here, Control C. But before copying this and then pasting it on all the items, you write label tab. Okay, and now inside the label we're gonna write home. Now let's copy this over here, Control C, Control V, and the same thing over here and also over here. So we're gonna change the name from home to about, AB, services, and then contacts over here. Alright then, now let's bring back our menu. So we can see that we have an extra radio button. Don't worry about this, we're gonna remove the radio button, but if you click on it, it will not work. Okay, but it will work. So if you click on it, you can see that it's turning on, but it's not turning off. That's because we have to define all of these buttons as a group. So in order to define it in a group, so we have this extra over here, which is name. This is for the grouping function. Okay, so if you hit A like this, and if you give it the same name on all the groups, A and A, now let's test. You can see that it's working. Okay, but if you click on the home, it's not working. That's because we have to attach this one to this one. In order to do that, we have created the label. Okay, so and there is also an ID. We also have to define the ID. So let's define unique ID to all our navigation menu items. Okay, so over here you write small letter A, small letter B, small letter C, and then small letter D. Okay, and over here the for, you define it as the same as the ID over here. You write small letter A, small letter B, small letter C, and then the small letter D. So boys, we're done. We're 100% done with the HTML. You can close it. Okay, and now let's test what we have done so far. If you click on it, it's working. Okay, and now the next thing what we want is when we hover over them, we want it to turn white. You can minimize this code over here like this. Okay, and then over here you write label colon hover, which is the hover function, and then curly braces. And what I want is we want to change the color to white like this, color white. Now let's test. If you hover over the label, it turns white like this. You can see that it's working perfectly fine like this. The next thing is we want to hide the radio buttons. Okay, in order to do that, come over here and you write input. Okay, then square bracket. Over here you write type equal to, then double quotes, and then you write radio over here. Okay, and then curly braces, you write D none. Tab, which is display none. You can see that the radio buttons are gone, but it's still working like this. Okay, and the next thing is when we click on any of the navigation menu items, we want it to be turned white. Okay, in order to do that, come over here and you write input, the same thing, square brackets, you write type equal to, and then you write radio over here, and over here you give colon and you write CHECKED, and then you give a small plus sign over here and you write label. So this plus sign over here is called the adjacent sibling selector, which means that if we come back to the HTML over here and let's say, so what the adjacent sibling selector does is that you can see the input is at the top and the label is at the bottom. Okay, so this is the input over here and this is the label over here. So if I target the input, it's going to automatically select the label. Okay, so this is the work of the adjacent sibling selector. If you want me to make a video on all sorts of selectors, then comment down below and let me know. Alright boys, let's come back to the CSS over here, and then you give curly braces, you write color, then white, like this, and let's check. So come over here, if you click on it, you can see that it's turned white and it doesn't move its position. So let's check again like this, and it's working perfectly fine. Let's give an underline. In order to do that, you write the most basic thing, which is text decoration. With text decoration underline. Alright, you can see that it's working. So this is when I hover over it, and when I click on it, you can see that we have a small underline. But you can see that the cursor is not changing when I hover over these items over here. Alright then, let's go and change it. In order to change that, come over to the label over here and you write curpoi tap. Now let's go and check it out. Now it's working perfectly fine like this. Okay, so let's test. Now when you hover over the items, it's gonna turn white, and then when you click on it, it's gonna give a small underline. But if you refresh the page, you can see that nothing is selected. Okay, so if I refresh the page, let me show you. Okay, so I have refreshed the page, and if I click over here, you can see that nothing is selected. So in order to change that, come over to the HTML and over the items over here. If you want one navigation menu item to be selected as default, so come over here and you write checked like this, and it's gonna get automatically checked. Let's see right now. You can set it by default checked. You can change the position as you like. Now let's change the color to this color over here. Okay, so come over to the header over here, and then you change, so come over to the header for the desktop version and you change it to hashtag C1 C1 C1, Control S. Okay, so you can see that we have the uniform color. So when we click on it, so it goes to the very right. Now let's place some text on the very center. In order to do that, come to the HTML, and if you can recall, we have another block. So you minimize this, we have another block called the main, and over here, this is the block. We need two elements. The first one is the header and the next one is the description. In order to do that, you write main to underscore star 2, then you hit tab like this, and you write over here header like this, and over here you write welcome. Alright, and over here you write description, or you can write text. Okay, T-E-X-T, and over here you write lorem 5, and then you hit tab. It's gonna create us some dummy text like this. Okay, now in order to style that, you come over here, you minimize this. Okay, and over here you write dot main, which is our main block, which is this text over here. Okay, so we want it to be at the very center. In order to do that, you write width 100%. Then set the height to 90 VH like that, and then you write deflex tap like that, and it's gonna behave like a row. That's because it's the default value. In order to change that, you write flex direction to column like that, and the next thing what we want is we want it to be at the center. Now in order to bring it at the very center over here, come over to here and write justify content center, which is the y-axis, and then the align items will be center. Okay, align items will work like the x-axis. Okay, justify content works as the y-axis, align items will be on the x-axis. This is applicable when flex direction is set to column. Okay, align items, you write center like that. You can see that it's working perfectly fine. So we are done with our coding. Now let's test. Okay, so this is the desktop version over here. So when we click on it, it's working. And this is our logo over here. These are the navigation menu items. When you hover over them, it turns white, and when you click on it, you can see that it's active by seeing the text decoration underline over here. And the next one is, let's test for the mobile version. Okay, you can see the logo is changing from the left to the right like this. And we have the hamburger menu over here. When you click on it, it's working perfectly fine like this. All right. So we're done with our project. If you like the video, give a like, share it with a friend, and feel free to subscribe. Till then, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.